Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 16th day of March. We're fully into March Madness, folks. And NCAA tournament will be on Thursday. Now, it's really going to be a battle of attrition if, if a Duke and a Gonzaga can get certain players back. A lot of injuries this year. I still think it's going to be a great tournament. Also, I got a few news and notes on that, on the conference tournaments that happened over the weekend. Plus, my mock draft top 10. My NFL top 10 took me a while to put it together yesterday, but I got the top 10 NFL mock drafts now that we've had practically the majority. I know there's still some players out there. The majority of NFL free agency has been done. Stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. And I tell you what, I was very impressed most by Rick Pitino again. St. John's wins the Big East Tournament Championship. They got a 5th seed. I don't know. That was kind of a slap in the face. Maybe that'll keep his players motivated in the tournament. But they beat Connecticut by 20 points. Remember, they beat Connecticut in the regular season, close game. Connecticut comes back in the regular season, beats them by like 20-something points. And then over the weekend, St. John's beats Connecticut by 20 points here. And, I'll tell you what, very impressed with him. Here's some sound bites here. This started going on the X app, clips of Pitino throughout the season and over the years. Let's see if I can play this one right here, if I can find it. It's very good. See, he's talking about Mark Jackson and the crowd there. And here's him talking about adversity. I love this clip here. Listen, Rick Pitino, and there may be a little bit of language here, folks, but listen up.
Adversity is all about? Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life's going to be adversity. Learn how to deal with it. There is your...
That was a great Rick Pitino, of course. Let's see if I had any more. I think that was one that really stood out, though. Motivational guy. I talked about Lou Holtz a couple of weeks ago when he passed, and good luck to St. John's in the tournament there. I'm sure Carlos, I have plenty to say about them. By the way, we'll be on Wednesday. No show Thursday. Got the tournament going on and everything. But I'll be live here breaking down my bracket, discussing it, comparing it to the Mad New Yorkers bracket. Going to put a lot of time in that show. So, folks, stay tuned. But that show will be on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Normal Time, of course, 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay, let's go. Florida, I tell you what, Florida looked vulnerable. They were a little flat. And I know what the coach can say and everything. I'm in Nashville where the tournament was. I don't know if the players went out Friday night or whatever, but they looked flat as a board coming in Saturday. And you got to give it to the Vanderbilt guard play, just out-hustled them on loose balls. The regular season game was pretty close, but I see it. The guard play's just not there. You could see, you got a great front court like a Michigan or whoever, and really Florida, but the guard plays there. Or you got the guard play like an Arkansas or Vanderbilt or even a North Carolina, but the front court ain't quite there. So I thought the complete team was Duke, but they got injuries. So that was a big observation there. Kudos to Arkansas. The guard play was there. And this Darius Acuff is going to be a big-time lottery pick for winning. I mean, yeah, Arkansas wins the SEC. That being said, typical John Calipari teams in the big tournament, I don't see a lot of discipline once the rounds start to get into the later rounds. Missing free throws, boxing out, all that stuff. Teams are usually very talented. Raw plays the underdog role really well, but he's coughed up a lot of championships. It seems like a lot of big games in the past, but we'll see how it plays out. But hey, if you're Arkansas, hey, you did win the conference there so far. They're getting their money's worth out of John Calipari. He needed a change of scenery there from Kentucky. Mentioned earlier, injuries. Michigan also very slow to get to the perimeter there. Purdue beats them because of guard. Purdue much better guard play than Michigan, but how far can Purdue go? They're vulnerable as well, but they end up beating Michigan, and Michigan has injuries. Michigan has an injury to a player. They lost back in February. Same thing with Duke. I mean, I read that they may get their guard back in possibly the later rounds. He's got an index finger injury there. Texas Tech injuries got best JT Toppin, of course, talked about that. North Carolina also noted that Gonzaga won their tournament. They did win their tournament. Got a pretty good draw early on. They may get Braden Huff back up. They look great early in the season. Remember, they dominated Kentucky back in the at the beginning of the season. No, Kentucky's not had a great year, $20 million, and not living up to none of that hype. And like I said, I made a note. Arizona looks like the early favorite. I'm not picking them as of today. Got to study a little bit more. But they look like they got a pretty good bracket so far. I had to dig into the weeds a little bit, spend some time on that. Okay, now, what y'all been waiting for, my NFL top 10 mock draft. I'll try to do 11 through 20, maybe one day next week. It's pretty tough. But so I did this. After free agency. The majority of free agency is gone. And like I said earlier, few players out there, but now I'm starting to get a hand in what teams are going to be looking for in the draft, who they signed, who they didn't sign, what positions, and of need. These top 10 players are expected to play right off the bat, in most cases here. A lot's going to be expected of them. So let's get started, okay? All right, Las Vegas. They've already traded away Geno Smith to the Jets. I said that. Talked about that last week with the Mad New Yorker. Jets look like they're primed for 2027 first overall pick with their quarterback room, although they have upgraded their defense tremendously on paper anyways. But back to Vegas, this one really not a big headliner there. Fernando Mendoza, they're going to take the quarterback out of Indiana. That's a pretty popular, that feels like a foregone conclusion at this point. I kind of get a sense that that's the big reason that Clint Kubiak took that job, is to work with this young man and all that cap space as well. Okay, number 2, the Jets. They traded away Jermaine Johnson for T'Vondre Sweat from Tennessee, defensive tackle there. By the way, he had some charges dropped. He got in a little bit of trouble, and those charges drops look like Sweat's going to be able to play without any issue from the league as of right now. You never know, but as of right now, they'll have him. So they did sign Joseph Ossie. I'm sure I'm jacking this guy's name up, from Cincinnati. Modest 3 years, $36 million. To also help out at linebacker edge. And 37-year-old Demario Davis. Aaron Glenn wants this to be a heavy defensive team. Franchise tagged Breece Hall. Couldn't imagine them taking a Jeremiah Love with the number 2 spot. Every mock draft post free agent points towards the edge rusher, Arvell Reese. And this guy can also play linebacker. Arvell Reese, linebacker from Ohio State, edge rusher from Ohio State. This guy can cover. I said, hey, listen, I do think he's a little overrated per se, but I'm just going by what I think the teams are going to do. I think that he's going to be their guy. They can use him in coverage. They can use him as an edge rusher. They're going to move him around all over the place. And he can learn from guys like a Demario Davis, who's in his 30s, the linebacker. So Davis is probably in this last year. This is probably a one-and-done year. They'll move Arvell Reese into that. He starts 37 years old. Demario Davis is. They're going to take Arvell Reese, linebacker, Ohio State. Okay, Arizona. Every writer that I read that writes for the Cardinals, they talk about they talk about the right tackle position being the absolute biggest needs. We also know that they cut Kyler Murray. I don't think they're going to take a Ty Simpson with the number 3 overall pick. A lot of the mocks do have them taking David Bailey, but they got Josh Sweat, 28-year-old Josh Sweat, edge rusher, 12 sacks on the roster with the LaFleur there. Mike LaFleur, the brother. Mike LaFleur, the brother being the head coach. He's wanting to really solidify that offensive line. They've got, who's it? The guy's named Paris Johnson or whatever. Maybe Jackson. It's a left tackle there. I really think they're going to get that prominent right tackle. Right tackles can go pretty high. I remember Penei Sewell a few years ago. So I do think this Francis Maluga, 6'6", 335, right tackle out of Miami. Jeremiah Love, what's his name here? Picked him. I want to say Jeremy Fowler and Bucky Brooks both picked Arizona in their mock drafts to take Francis Maluga. He's not quite the prospect of a David Bailey. But if you look at a lot of draft big board overall prospects, he's either I'm talking about Maluga, the right tackle from Miami, either from 4 to 8. So, yeah, Bailey's a slightly better prospect, but the bigger need, if the prospects are that close, the bigger need is the right tackle position. And I do think the 6'6", 335 right tackle with the offensive-minded head coach will be the selection there after doing some research for the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, so that leaves me with the Titans at 4. I've been talking a lot about the Titans lately. People talking about Jeremiah Love this and Jeremiah Love that. Meanwhile, the Titans still have Tony Pollard on the roster and Tajay Spears on the roster. They did add Jermaine Johnson there at edge rusher. But if you really look at this thing and put it with that defensive line there and that fort, led by Jeffrey Simmons there, and I know that John Franklin Myers, I know he's another tackle there, so he would go and where Sweat was, a little bit more athletic than a Sweat. And then you got a 14-sack edge rusher out of Texas Tech there, available at 4. I do think it's a no-brainer. Tennessee will take Texas Tech's David Bailey as a no-brainer. He would be ideal for Tennessee at the 4 spot. And I did note that some mocks had Ohio State's Carnell Tate possibly going there at 4. Well, they just kept Calvin Ridley over the weekend. They readjusted his contract. You got Wardell Robertson You got Dyke, the second-year player. I think he made it as a Pro Bowl for special teams, but he's a deep threat. And Alomar, the other wide receiver, fourth-round pick from Stanford last year, got a lot of plays. So they're about 4 deep there. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to take a Carnell Tate at that high position. I do think they're going to solidify the defense and go with the 14-sack David Bailey, edge rusher from Texas Tech at 4. Okay, now 5, New York Giants. Some thought early mock drafts that they could take some high-end tackles, but them re-signing Jermaine Muirmore, right tackle, and they also signed. They moved Evan Neal into guard. He's been disappointing at tackle. They re-signed Evan Neal there. So you've re-signed your guard. You re-signed your right tackle. Thought Francis Maluga may go there. Oh, that's not the case. He's already off the board. I'm thinking John Harbaugh is looking at a guy like Caleb Downs and thinking that's Baltimore Ravens, the safety there, Caleb Downs from Ohio State. They're looking at him saying, okay, that looks like a Cal Hamilton, who the Ravens took at 14 a few years ago from Notre Dame, 2.0. They need help in the secondary. One of the bad against the run, bad against the pass. Been bad against the pass for a few years now. But this guy can help out with the run. He can also cover. Some would say he, depending on what opinions you get, he's one of the top, if not the top overall prospect in the NFL draft this year. Caleb Downs, the safety there out of Ohio State, will get selected, in my opinion, in my mock draft with the Giants at 5. Okay. All right. Well, I put this thing in different parts here. And I know about Jeremiah Love talks, but listen, they still got Cam Scatterboo here. And you said, well, what about Tate? Also, what about maybe Tate there? Carnell Tate there with them. Well, they got Malik Neighbors. So I just don't think they'll go there. I think Caleb Downs with the John Harbaugh coach team, he's going to push the general manager to do so. Okay, go with Caleb Downs at 5. Okay, now Cleveland Browns at 6. They practically released, I put a note here, the entire offensive line, but they were busy in free agency. They took quite a few players. I had to go through my screenshots here because I had some notes here. Yahoo had some write-ups here. The Browns completely remade their offensive line in free agency. They signed and left guard Zion Johnson, center Elton Jenkins. He was from pretty good player when he's healthy from Green Bay, and trading for right tackle Titus Howard. However, they're still opening to right guard with White Teller hitting the open market. So they could potentially go tackle there. But I still say with Carnell Tate being there, Jerry Jeudy's really inconsistent as a 1, not really a 1. They're wanting to give either to be Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders another option to throw to. I think Carnell Tate at 6, although they could go offensive line. I'd go offensive line, but I think they're going to take the in-state guy, the Ohio State guy, Carnell Tate at the 6th spot there, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Ohio State, listen, they're a very talented team. That's why a lot of people picked them to win the national championship. Just didn't quite have the quarterback play. If they would have, they would have rolled through everybody, including Indiana. But that ain't what happened. Okay, so that leaves Washington at 7. Washington defense was awful at times last year. Very old, very fast. Draft needs are heavy on edge rusher and safety. They could use a running back, but they did sign Rashard White with their rookie that's pretty good, Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt, second-year player. But I'm thinking it's a no-brainer. They're going to take 9-sack Miami Hurricane Reuben Bain Jr., put him on the edge there. You got the defensive-minded head coach there. They need to get younger on defense. They've had old overnight there on defense, and they're going against the Cowboys, who are going to have – they may have some issues, but they're going to have one of the best offenses in the league. They did last year. And, of course, the Eagles and their big offensive line. So, edge rusher who could also play the run. I was watching film on him this weekend. If Bailey does go to Arizona at 3, Tennessee should definitely take Ruben Bain Jr. I stand corrected, by the way. I said he was 5'10" the other day. I'm doing that on the fly. He's more like a 6'1", 6'2". This issue with his arm length being too short, Dwight Freeney's arm length is actually slightly shorter than a Ruben Bain Jr., and Dwight Freeney was a 2024 NFL Hall of Famer. So that is way overstated. Well, Ruben Bain Jr., number 7 to the Washington Commanders. Okay, part 4 here. So let's go to Washington, number 7, number 8, New Orleans Saints. Listen, they wouldn't bad in its defense as I thought they were. Overall defense on both sides of the ball, really not that bad. The Saints were 28th, however, in run offense. They could not run the ball, and they had a rookie quarterback. I know that they signed Trevor Etienne, 27-year-old player out of Jacksonville. Very good pickup there. I'm sure they're going to move Alvin Kamara if they don't just flat out release him between now and the draft or the start of the season. But when you got a prospect who some also say top 5, top 2 prospect, depends on who you talk to, Jeremiah Love. I think with Tyler Shook there, I think they're going to go with Jeremiah Love and pair him with the 27-year-old ETN. I know he's got a 4-year contract. Maybe they keep him for 2. Love is more like a Gibbs, maybe a little bit better version of Gibbs. I said Bijan Robertson, not quite as big as Bijan Robertson out of Atlanta, but this guy is a speedy guy. He'd be perfect in that dome there with the Keelan Moore, offensive-minded head coach. They need help at corner. They could go there, but they got some depth there in their secondary. I think they're going to go with the Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. They're going to go with that 1-2 punch there. It's always good for a young quarterback to have a running game like that. And this guy, you can use him out of the backfield and everything. You saw the success of David Montgomery, even though it's just a few years, with Jamar Gibbs there. There's a power element also to ETN's game. ETN can play more of the power back. You could throw to both of these guys. I do think Jeremiah Love will go there at 8. I know a lot of people may say they also make it go with this cornerback out of LSU could possibly go there. And I'm see if I can find his name. They could go corner. LSU Manser Delaney could go there, but I'm thinking Jeremiah Love because he's just such a good prospect there at the number 8 spot here. Okay. All right. And they possibly could go wide receiver, but I'm thinking Love all the way there. All right. Now, Kansas City at 9, the Chiefs releasing Jawan Taylor and signing Kenneth Walker. They want to add a power element to their running game. Yes, they need help at corner, losing Trent McDuffie. Other secondary players to the Rams through free agency losses. But, man, right tackle out of Utah, Spencer Fano, seems like a no-brainer. Don't overthink the room. This is one that I think Kansas City. By the way, Brett Veach has went in different directions many times over the last few years as far as going towards defense and skill player. Now I think he's wise enough to say, let's get that offensive line squared away. You've got Mahomes coming back from an ACL injury there. They're going to keep the ball out of his hand less and give it more to the running backs, short pass and power running game. Spencer Fano, right tackle out of Utah, seems like an absolute no-brainer there for number 9, okay, with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then that leaves number 10, Cincinnati. Was about as bad as I've seen them in a number of years on the defensive side of the ball. They lost Trey Henderson. They have big draft needs. They did add some edge rushers. I want to say a guy from I know they added a player there from Seattle and a few other players they signed. That's still not enough. I see them who had a great workout. Sonny Styles out of Ohio State had a very good workout in the combine. Some say he could go possibly higher. So Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State. So you got Styles. You've got who else did I take? Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate. All those guys go in the top 10. They really had a loaded team there. So let's go ahead and do that quick recap here. If I can find it. I made a note with just the recap here. Let's see. I'm going to find it, folks. I'm going to find it. My top 10 recap. All right. Number one, obviously, Vegas takes Fernando Mendoza. The Jets take Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. Arizona takes Francis Maluga out of Miami. Tennessee takes David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. The Giants take that sought-after playmaking safety, Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. Cleveland takes the wide receiver, Carnell Tate, also out of Ohio State. And Washington takes Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. And, of course, number 8, Jeremiah Love. The Saints take Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. And, of course, number 9, Kansas City takes right tackle Spencer Fano out of Utah. And, of course, number 10, Cincinnati takes Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. So that's my mock draft top 10, folks. If you like the show, share the show. I'll be back here live Wednesday. With the Mad New Yorker, breaking down the NCAA tournament, give you my Final Four and national championship. Have a good morning, everybody. I'll see you then live here on The Real